There's a big resistance, isn't there, in coming back to the office. You can go into all different sectors and see that not everybody wants to come back. You can see the merits of coming back, but I found that the more senior you are in a company, a firm, an organization, the better office you have, the bigger house you have, the smaller commute that you have. And there's more incentives to be in the office if you higher up the pay scale, if you like. You're more seasoned in your role because it's much less of an ordeal to get into the office. There's more for you when you go there. Hi, Rob Brown here, host of the Accounting Talent Podcast. We're looking at some research today done by the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, based here in the UK, but a global organization, looking at global trends with talent and the many dissatisfied CPAs and accountants out there. It's a fascinating piece. I'm going to talk on it a little bit more in future episodes, but I'm focusing right now on a report by CPA Trendlines, one of our podcast sponsors, partners here, to talk about what they have found, how they've interpreted the research, and the basic message is that accountants are very unsettled. Some are even afraid. This is all according to the Global Talent Trends 2024, issued by the ACCA, a professionally recognized accounting body, based on data from nearly 10,000 accounting and finance professionals in 157 countries. You can see this on cpatrendlines.com, and now you go and blog episodes or podcasts or even Amazon, and they say people that like this also like this. Well, you can see if you're interested in this article, this blog, then these titles might be of interest to you as well. And on cpatrendlines.com, they've got other articles you can have a look at. More big firms shut their doors to new college grads. 7 enticements to keep your talent on board. Disruptors and the talent crisis. What talent crisis? Compensation's up, but up enough to retain staff. Survey shows that tech remains the great divide. Will unclogging the accounting professional pipeline kill mobility? Wow, there's so many hot topics here. And with my co-host, Jeff Phillips, we go through these as much as we can. On this weekly show, I'm going to dip into this research solo today. And it basically says the statistics depict an industry sector on the move and ready to move. So only 57% of respondents in accounting, and this includes a broad spectrum from academia, accountants in industry, large corporations, in public practice, big and small, only 57% are working full-time in the office, and only 8% are remote. The difference must be some kind of hybrid. But the article says, but wherever they are, a lot of them are not happy. So let's dig into some of the reasons why accountants might not be happy in their roles. And obviously, it acknowledges that accounting firms are concerned with hiring and retaining talent. They indicate that this is one of their top priorities. So let's start with the question, what is the key reason why employees are in the office full time? This is a big call, isn't it? We come back to work. We really want you back in the office. We want to drive culture. We can train you better. We can, I guess the hidden messages, if we can monitor you better, we can see what you're up to. But there's a big resistance, isn't there, in coming back to the office. You can go into all different sectors and see that not everybody wants to come back. You can see the merits of coming back, but I found that the more senior you are in a company, a firm, an organization, the better office you have, the bigger house you have, the smaller commute that you have. And there's more incentives to be in the office if you higher up the pay scale, if you like. You're more seasoned in your role because it's much less of an ordeal to get into the office. There's more for you when you go there. So let's look at this. 76% of employees in this survey said, I'm in there full time because my employer requires that I be so. So 3/4 of the respondents are saying, I'm going into the office because I'm told to. 13% said, I feel more productive working with colleagues in person. So maybe that's a voluntary thing. They want to go in because they feel more productive. That makes sense. 4% cite social connection as the key reason they are in the office. 2% talk about a lack of suitable office space at home. That is a factor for sure. We've seen the increase of chiropractic requirements, people with bad back, people with sore joints, and they're in a home office or a kitchen table or whatever it is they are, and they've not got the right equipment, wrong posture, everything else. That's an aside. 2% say digital connectivity issues working from home. The pandemic really sorted that out. The accounting profession and many actually pivoted really well to online working. And thank goodness the technology was there that we could do so and keep the data safe. But digital connectivity issues, maybe people don't have a good Wi-Fi broadband connection at home, so they are going into the office. So the consensus there is employers are in the office, but most of them would rather not be. Some more statistics on the back of this. It says at the big four accounting firms, 33% are fully office-based, but only 9% prefer to be in the office every day, with 76% preferring a hybrid option. My co-host Jeff Phillips and I talked on a recent episode about the demand for remote working, hybrid working from your employees, and even talent that are coming into you. And basically, with the talent pipeline being as sparse as it is, if you are not considering it as a leader, a manager, a boss, a partner, an owner of an accounting firm, if you are not already considering it or implementing hybrid remote working, then you are going to lose out on a lot of talent, and you might well get people leaching out of your firm and going elsewhere. So let me say that again, 33% are office-based. This is big four, but 9%, only 9% prefer to be in the office every day. That's the big four firms. And you would think they would have great offices. They would have wonderful working environments, but still less than 10% of them want to be in the office. So 76% of them are preferring a hybrid option. So that's the way it's going. And we have the technology to do so. We're looking at a geographically diverse workforce right now. You can take people from anywhere. I've had some pushback, particularly people in the US that are saying, well, I don't want an accountant to work for our firm outside our state because we have implications for these different sales tax issues and things like that. There's always going to be reasons not to do something. But the bigger picture is if you have growth targets, if you have aspirations for growing your firm, greater revenue, you're going to need more people. You're going to take on more work, particularly if you're going to do the advisory side of things, or CAS as it's sometimes called, consulting, advisory services, client accounting services, whatever you're calling it, then you need more capacity. You need more resource. Dissatisfaction with pay levels. This also came out in this research, was very consistent across firms of all sizes. 34% of people at small firms and 38% of people in big four firms and mid-tier firms are unhappy with pay levels. That is a growing trend, isn't it? And we'll dip into this a little bit more, but let me break down those stats for you. The phrase here, I am satisfied with the level of pay I receive for the role I perform, that was only 37% in the under 26s. That's the Gen Zs. So 1/3 of them are satisfied, which means there's a lot that are not. Of the Gen Ys or millennials, these are 26 to 43-year-olds, 34%. Again, it's very similar, isn't it? But look, as we get older into the workforce, these are people more established. They will be paid more. They'll have more perks. They'll have more benefits. 43% of Gen X, that's 44 to 58-year-olds, 43% of them are satisfied with the level of pay. So it's clearly higher. They've got more going for them. They've got more in their package. They've got tenure, if they like. And on the over 58s, the baby boomers, 50% of them are happy. Well, that's great. We understand that. They're the ones, like I've said, with the big offices, the bigger cars, the smaller commutes. And it probably makes sense that they would be very happy with their level of pay because they're at the top of the pay scale. But goodness me, only baby boomers are more satisfied than dissatisfied with their pay. So that tells you that, and we're going to look at some of the reasons for that now, but that tells you that we have a talent pool here that is very economically sensitive. The biggest work-related fear for the future was inflation impacting salaries. And we're getting this a lot in the UK, where this is a year, 2024, where there are more general elections and shifts in power in more countries across the world than any other year. Didn't I read something somewhere? 70 to 80% of countries will undergo some kind of big election this year. Big government, presidency, prime ministership, something like that. Big elections, big shifts in power, big political unrest. So inflation is a big part of that. We know that stock markets, they love certainty. And when you're looking at changes in regimes, political regimes, it's huge uncertainty. Here in the UK, we've got an election coming up. It's now been announced, I think, October, November. Similar to the presidential elections in the US, huge upheaval. And it creates massive imbalance in the markets and big inflation. 40% of people at small firms, 42% at the big four, and 44% in mid-tier firms said that inflation impacting their salaries, the buying power of what they take home, is their biggest work-related fear. And the only greater fear at the big four firms was 46% feared for their mental health. So 44% big four and mid-tier firms said the biggest work-related fear was inflation impacting salaries. 46% said fear for mental health. Interestingly, the smaller the firms, the greater the fear of technology replacing jobs. I wonder why that would be. We do see the small firms can pivot very quickly with technology, but they perhaps don't have the buying power to invest in decent technology the way the bigger firms might have. So fear of technology replacing jobs, 19% in the small firms, 90% of the big firms, 24% in the small firms. Not a huge difference, but good technology, that's a driver for talent, absolutely. The larger the firm, the more respondents agreed that they feel overwhelmed by the pace of change by technology impacting their jobs. That's an interesting observation, isn't it? I'm just looking at the big table here. And again, we'll put the link in the show notes, but you can Google ACCA Global Talent Trends 2024 and get a lowdown on this. Inflation impacting my real wage and salary. This is a global thing. The Caribbean came out top there. 48% of accountants in the Caribbean felt that that was the case. 42% in North America, UK 42% as well, Africa 43%. Poor career development opportunities. This is damning, isn't it, for the accounting profession, that we don't tell enough good stories about how interesting it is to work in the accounting world. But 41% of accountants in China, well, what have we got? UK 26% feel that there are poor career development opportunities. That's so sad, isn't it? That's why less and less people are coming into accounting degrees, taking accounting majors. A global economic downturn is impacting my future job opportunities. That was cited in many countries. Well-being and mental health, highest in the Caribbean. 30% of people in North America, 31%, 32% in the UK said mental health and well-being was a big work-related fear. Now, we hear a lot about the workloads, the overload of accounting professionals, more and more being asked of them by demanding clients, demanding bosses, demanding work processes, demanding tax and regulation. So much going on. Ooh, what else have we got next? Workload and insufficient resources to carry out my role. That is a big factor. A third of UK accountants feel that that is a fear. Not having relevant skills for the future. Another great one, about a third of people represented there. The impact of AI on my role, 33% of people in India. That was the biggest chunk of respondents there. A third of people in India say it's a fear at work with the impact of AI affecting my role. Jobs being replaced by technology. There's a common theme coming out here. Employee equality in the workplace. That was a factor. Poor education systems that don't deliver future vital workplace skills. As a former high school math teacher, I did 8 years in education, 4 in the UK, 4 in Hong Kong. I did an international school, and I got out of teaching actually because I ended up coaching pupils to pass tests. It became all about the exam results. It wasn't education. And it was unfortunate that I could not, given the curriculum constraints I had, teach young people the skills they really needed out there in the world of work and the world of life. So poor education systems that don't deliver future vital workplace skills, that might mean education, it could mean professional qualifications that are not quite fit for purpose. And the ACCA, the ICAW, the AICPA, the CMA, and many other governing bodies might have a case to answer there. Job opportunities moving to other parts of the world. It's a very fluid, mobile workforce at the moment, and people are willing to move and willing to look at mobile opportunities. Increased retirement age, another work-related fear. So lots going on here. In a part 2, in another episode, I'm going to talk more about things like mental health and how soon you would like to move to your next role. We'll talk more about these. But for now, let's just recap what we've got right here. The accounting workplace is in flux. The actual place that people work, the processes, the culture, it's all in flux. The wider profession is in flux. There's a lot of debates going on right now about the brand of accounting. And whose responsibility is it to shape that brand? In short, it's everybody's. The problem with it being everybody's is that everyone thinks everyone else is going to do something about it and take the lead. It should be the governing bodies, but even the accounting leaders, the influencers, all have a responsibility, we might say, to shape the profession and be an ambassador for the profession and highlight the good things about coming into accounting and the varied opportunities you've got. Compensation is a big thing. Remote working is a big thing. The talent pipeline, people are leaching out of accounting once they're in it, and people are not coming into it in the first place. So there are some major shifts going on. These are the kind of things we talk about on the Accounting Talent Podcast. We thank you for getting involved in our show, for being a fan, for being a follower, for being an ambassador, for sharing it. And we'll come back to this topic more in future episodes in keeping you informed as an employer and building your employer brand, keeping the talent pipeline going. Enjoy your work out there and keep telling good stories. Have a great day.